Hey everybody, this is Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. We were going to kind of do a quick rundown here on where we were this last weekend. We were with Ghost Hunts USA down at the Missouri State Penitentiary in, see I did it again.
Jefferson City.
We just talked about that. And we had some amazing people along with us from the Spiritual Encounter Society in Indiana. Brittany and Amanda. I almost called you Brandy and Amitna.
Okay, cut.
No, let it go. I'll filter it all out. But Brittany and Amanda were there with us. You guys were awesome, first of all. I love working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to know, since we, like I said, the four of us have been there before, was your guys' first time. I want your guys' take when you first walked in, because I know you guys went off and did some live streaming. You went through the buildings. How'd you feel when you went first through there? What was going on? Don't both of you talk at once.
I know.
Amanda,
it was
go
really
first.
Heavy. I felt really heavy walking through there. I don't know. It was just a fascinating place. It's extremely well kept. I don't know. I didn't really have much else. It just felt heavy. So. Yeah, when we first pulled up, my stomach sank and my chest felt really heavy. But I blamed a lot of that on like adrenaline and excitement, but that all changed when we walked into certain buildings. So, it's a beautiful place.
So the first building you went into obviously was where we set up all the food and all that stuff. But we'll come back to that one. Building 4. Talk about Building 4. That's where the dungeon and stuff is at. What about?
Yeah.
What was that one like?
I thought the first night, Friday night, was great. We had some stuff happen up in Building 4, but it wasn't crazy. I mean, until you went down to the dungeon. That was a different story. But Building 4, to me, on Friday night, felt really calm and relaxing, and I felt welcome there. And then it changed come Saturday. So, Amanda, what do you think?
Spot on. I mean, Friday night, it was just, I don't know. It was like a friendly space. That's pretty much it. It was like, had no problems peering into dark cells, walking around. No real issues whatsoever.
Did you guys get
Saturday night, I had to leave.
Did you get the same feeling, and this is open to anybody, did you get the same feeling on Friday night about right after midnight that it just seemed to change? It just started really changing. Saturday was the anniversary of the riots, 1954 riots that happened there, and it just seemed like it was just, it was almost like a stranglehold went on everything, and it got really weird really fast.
Yes, it did.
Now, you two on the other side over there can say something if you want to.
Well, you're not going to hear Drew because he's laying down again.
Drew's always laying down. So, Kelly, what did you think? Let's talk about Friday night. What did you think about Friday night?
Friday night was awesome because I was upstairs where they had the women's, and each vigil that I had, I was getting something. It was so active up there. I mean, there was some people who were inside the cells, and they were getting touched, and they got scared, and they had to come back out of it and sit over by me. And then we had one of the Missouri State Pen workers. I can't think of what they would call them, but anyway, she was up there with me, and she was just in awe because of some of the names that was being said, and she knew some of the 2 women prisoners that were there. And it was awesome.
So, Droopy, you were working with me.
Yes, it was.
What'd you get? What'd you think?
Oh, man. I thought it was pretty awesome. I mean, Friday night felt pretty good. Things seemed pretty peaceful, like you said, up until about midnight. People getting pushed around a little bit, people in the cells got a lot of action, people out in the main area.
Wait, what did that one lady say that was in the back row with us? She kept going, something's playing with my boob.
Oh, yeah.
Something's playing with my boob. And one of the ladies in the front row turns around with a flashlight and goes, "What row are you sitting in?"
Well, like I said, people were getting a lot of action, you know, some many different forms of action, apparently. But Saturday, like I said, it changed quite a bit. I spent a little bit of time upstairs, a little bit of time downstairs in the dungeon. I mean, stuff was really happening down there. We got people getting scratched. We had something pounding on metal surfaces, scratches on the walls. It was pretty awesome.
And Michelle, you spent the entire time, both nights, in the dungeon.
Being a creepy McCreeperson.
I have no clue. There was so much that went on. I'm still hoarse because of it. I did lose a lot of people down there. I normally don't lose people, but I did a lot.
Me included.
Now, when you say you lose people,
She lost people. She had people that were... She had like 3 people inside there, and the rest were sitting out in the hallway. You're like, I'm not going my ass back in there. No way.
Yeah, because it was okay Friday. I mean, we still had our guys, you know, that I normally kind of see and things like that. But after midnight, like you were talking, I almost felt like Missouri State Pen kind of flipped itself, and we were like in a different dimension almost. Even the feeling, like a vortex type of feeling. And even the guy that I always call like the bully, whoever was like, they called like the boss down there. Even in the dark, they had a boss down there that would be... He was actually in the other corner cowering down too. And that really blew my mind. And some of the stuff that I was actually really seeing... I've never seen there before. It freaked me out. But I had no choice but to stay down there. And poor Amanda... Poor Amanda kept going, will you go back down with me? Because I did not want to be there myself. But it kept calling for me to be by myself. And that's what scared me. Because I'm like, it's because... I didn't even... The cops wouldn't even come down this time. The one stayed by the front by the door. And he goes, I can't come any further. He goes, you're too creepy. And I didn't know how to take that. So, but yeah, so I didn't have no police officers either, which kind of bummed me out.
So that's fine. So I think the one thing that freaked me out the most for the whole night, for Friday night, was those 2 guys, those 2 young guys. We were doing a flashlight session, and I asked, if it had a message for somebody, turn the flashlight on. I said, are they on the ground floor? And it said, nothing happened. I said, are they on the 2nd floor? Nothing happened. I said, are they on the 3rd floor? And the light came on. And one of the guys actually yells out, he goes, is a message for, what was the guy's name? Not Derek.
James?
No. The young guy's name.
It was,
It begins with a D.
was it, Dakota?
Dakota? Yeah.
Dakota.
No, we're not saying no names.
No. So he yells out, he goes, is a message for Dakota? And the light just comes on and stays on. So I just turned the flashlight towards him and went, it's all yours, keep talking. He goes, and just out of the blue, and he goes, James, is that you? And it flicked on and stayed on and then went off, and he goes, if that's James, turn it off and on twice. And it just went click, 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 click. Well, James ended up being his stepfather that passed away a month ago in an accident.
Aww.
So later on that night, we took the box over, and he was talking to the box, and he got direct responses to James, then his real dad, and then his sister. So I thought that was... He actually left. Well, when they got ready to leave, he was a lot in tears, but when they left, he had one of our cards, and he actually sent me a text message that said they had to pull over on the way home because that was the most closure he had gotten since his stepdad passed away. Out of everything. So it was one of those nights where everything was great for that piece, and then all hell broke loose. So
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Need a balance, I guess.
well, there's a dark side and a light side. There's 2 sides to the force.
Well, it seems like on Saturday night, after the last vigil, it seems like stuff was starting to really get good, and then boom, it's like, okay, it's free time, because I was up in death row, And there was a lot of stuff going on. We heard a lot of banging. There was humming. There was a lot of stuff that was going on, and then we couldn't finish because they said it was free time. So, which that's fine. But it was, yeah. I had one person who got scratched. I had somewhere this one lady, she had a hand that was going up the inside of her leg. This is all in the death row. Her face was being touched.
Gives new meaning to what's your last meal.
So
It's death row. Come on.
There was one gentleman in there because they had blindfolds on, and he was standing in the cell, and he felt like the floor was moving. And he doesn't know whether it could have been vertigo or what it was, but he said it just felt like the floor was moving. So it was, yeah.
Drew, you need to let them know what happened to you in 4, which was awesome.
Are you talking about the whistling?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I was standing there in 4 with another person that was one of our tour guests, and we were kind of sitting there talking, and all of a sudden, both of us at the same time heard a whistling. It sounded like it was coming up from the 4th floor, over by the doorway, or the entryway to the stairs, and it just whistled this tune, and I looked at him, I was like, did you just hear that? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, did that sound like whistling to you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what was the tune you heard? And he went ahead and whistled it for me. It was the exact tune I heard, and it was pretty awesome. What's really crazy is I had actually gone through there multiple times that weekend, whistling that exact same tune, and Saturday night they whistled it back to me. Are you wanting me to actually whistle this tune, or?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if we'll be able to hear it, but. That was tune. It didn't just repeat itself, but it didn't go any further than that.
So, I mean, think about that experience. He did it constantly, but he didn't do it at that moment. And it came back after he was there later on.
Maybe they're trying to tell you, hey, Drew, pay attention to us, dang it.
Well, it could be, but I mean, that just kind of tells you some of the stuff that goes on in Missouri.
Yeah.
It's a tune that he's constantly doing when he goes into that building, and then he's just sitting and talking to someone, and then that tune is not just a normal whistling tune that somebody could actually repeat, and it comes back.
Well, they also remember us too, because we've been there so many times that when we come in and we talk, that they know who we are. And it's like, yes, they're back. Glad to see you.
But see, I felt that partially on actually when we got there Thursday night when we dropped off the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Friday, I didn't feel it, and then Saturday it was kind of like
It
the
wasn't
feeling
the
of
same.
it was kind of like the feeling of we don't frickin' want you here. Get out. It's not right that you're here. You need to get the hell out of here.
Brittany had a pretty creepy experience in 3D, which we kind of, it's never been that bad, but she got, go ahead and tell them.
I don't want to remember it. So I was busy all night, and I kept hearing about 3D psych ward, and just hadn't been able to get down there. So Amanda and my mom Michelle and I took a couple, 4 people over to death row because we were asked to accompany them so this guy could do a blessing. And so while we were there, I'm like, hey, can we just go down to 3D? I haven't been there yet. I want to see what's up. So we all went down there, and I have this thing when it comes to crawlers, I lay down on the floor and let them crawl all over me. I know that sounds stupid. But I don't know. I feel like I have to. And it's a really powerful feeling. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to lay down and see what happens. I laid down. Nothing was happening right away. I asked, hey, come pull my leg, touch me, poke me, pull my hair, do something. You have permission. You're welcome to do this. Nothing happened. Not, 10 seconds later, I watched this man like walk up to me, and his like mouth was all crooked, and he had like this voodoo looking doll, and he was playing with the head really weird, and then he was drooling in my face. Like he was over my face and he was drooling in my face. And I laid there and I was just like, and my mom, I was like telling mom this, and mom's like, yeah, does he have dolls? And I'm like, yeah, he's got one doll, and it kind of looks like a voodoo type doll, but it wasn't. It was just the way it was. I don't know. It was weird. So I got up. I'm like, had enough of this. You're weird. You're drooling in my face. Get out. I get up, and I had a head rush, and I'm like, whew, I just got up too fast. No big deal. Turned around to tell, the rest of the group, like, hey, let's go do whatever. And I just collapsed.
Wow.
I just crumpled on the floor like a rag doll, and it terrified me. I couldn't move for like a good 15, 20 seconds? I don't even know. It could have been longer. And then I finally hear, like, I went in like a blackout stage. And then I heard Amanda say, like, Britt, are you okay? And I remember saying okay. And then
Because I thought your eyes were going to be rolling in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Your head spinning.
Did not. Yeah. It was bad. And
Yeah.
then so like mom and Amanda picked me up, and you guys were like literally dragging me out of the building.
Yeah.
And then I got violently ill. Like I felt like someone was digging my insides out of my stomach. And then I got really dizzy again, and I had to sit down. I couldn't go any further. And it didn't really click with me either, Amanda, because we were talking about it on the ride home yesterday. She said that every doorway that I hit, I couldn't go through, and it was like it was trying to keep me there. And you guys were literally like dragging me.
Yeah.
It was a terrible. Like I started panicking and crying, but I was trying to like stay calm at the same time. And I was telling this thing like, "Stop it! You're not allowed to have me." And I'll tell you what, like to this, like just today and yesterday, I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck, and I think it's from that experience. My ribs, my like kidneys, everything hurts. I don't know. It definitely took a toll on me, and that was a terrifying experience. I don't ever want to do that again.
Well, there's
Yeah,
one
you do.
thing you'll have to know, especially doing this, because you did this in Farrar too.
I have to do it.
You can't, because here's what's happening. You're giving in to what they want. You have to do the opposite, or you won't have control of that situation. And I know you did it in Farrar, and I'm like, you need to get up. But one thing I've been learning, especially going through some of this training I'm going through, it is completely, you do not, no matter what, do what they say. If they want you to lay down, or if they want you to sit against a certain wall, you have to be in control of that, because if it does go bad, you'll be able to handle it better. So there's no more laying down, period.
Well, it's weird. If they ask me to go sit in a seat, I won't freaking sit in that seat. Like, because then I'm like, oh, no, they're trying to get me. But they tell me to lay on the ground, and I'm like,
You sprawl
yes,
right
you
open.
got it.
Yeah,
I know.
she was. She had
Get
her
myself
leg.
away.
So yeah, that's a no-no. It won't
Well,
happen
I got
again.
really sick in Farrar, too. Remember?
Because
You
the
guys had
same
pretty
thing.
much dragged me out because I
Because
was, like, miserable.
They're actually jumping you.
I know.
Literally. No, not
Like,
that
it's
way.
cool now. I mean, they could have been.
So what about? Let's talk about the gas chamber. How'd you guys feel at the gas chamber?
Friday night, I thought it was peaceful. I mean, I felt really sad, but I wasn't scared at all. Like, I was in there by myself, and I could have just been closed up in the chamber, sitting in a chair by myself. And I just felt sadness. I didn't get down there Saturday night, but I heard Saturday it was crazy
Yeah.
and, like, bad, and it switched. So I don't know.
There was a common denominator going on at that on top of it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
go
I
ahead.
want Amanda to kind of tell us a little bit, because I remember Amanda getting really sick in the dungeon. Now, mind you, the dungeon is so dark that the only reason I knew Amanda was against one wall is because we seen each other before we turned the lights off, and that was the end of it. So anything that happens afterwards, we're pretty much on our own. So Amanda, if you can kind of maybe explain what kind of led up to it or what was going on.
Yeah. Well, we kept having larger groups, so you and I kind of split it in half, and a lot of people kept feeling things, but so I was just kind of like crawling up and down, not really crawling, but going up and down to the different dungeon rooms. And in this one in particular, I thought there were 3 people in there because I could have sworn there was somebody standing in this first corner to the left of me as you walk in, and they felt that there was somebody there too. So about, near the end of our time, I asked, hey, do any of you guys want to stand there? Because it's like you're just standing here staring at this person. Invade their space and see what happens. And the one guy did. So I went into the other back corner where stuff was happening the night before. And when I turned off my flashlight, I went to go take a step, and it was like I was on a boat. Like I couldn't get my footing. I felt really dizzy. So I made my way out of that dungeon cell and leaned against the wall. And I just couldn't stop spinning, and I started to feel like I was going to get sick. And so that's when I said, Michelle, you need to get me out of here. And by that time, I had already taken 3 other women out
You
for
don't have to
nausea and
I was going to say,
feeling,
quit telling people
What?
that. People can't.
Can't hook them like that. I'm taking 3 women out.
But no, when she got out there,
yeah.
when she got out there though, she was very pale and almost clammy looking, and it was a little scary because
I was shaking.
yeah, her hands were shaking and everything. It kind of scared me, but again, me and Amanda, we had nobody, so it was like I got all these people probably getting hurt in there, and she's hurt. We didn't know what to do. She goes, I'm okay. But then, of course, I asked her after she feels better, will you go back down with me, please? And I felt really bad, but I want to thank you for doing that because, I mean, she went on and did it. And but yeah, we had some crazy. And then when I was down there by myself, one of the Missouri State Penn tour folks came down, and all of a sudden it was like we were in this crazy vortex, not realizing that Brittany and Tyler were upstairs, experienced the same type of craziness. Someone lunging at Tyler, that you can't see. And we were
They
having...
kept saying the devil over the Phasma box.
And downstairs, it was getting to the point I felt like I was on the spin cycle, and I could actually see the swirl in the one where you were actually at that you got sick. And it had like this hole, like if I was to walk through it, I'd end up somewhere else. And it got so bad that even Missa was like, I can't stay in here anymore. And she left. And she's always down there. She couldn't even walk down the hall. She goes, what is going on? I'm like, I'm here to please. That's all I got because I couldn't explain it. I was terrified the whole time. I actually had to learn how to take care of myself, which I've never had to do. But I was put in a situation where it was kind of like, not that way, but...
See, wait, time. I'm not even laughing about that.
I'm just grounding. I do, but in that situation...
Because they were messing with you hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
You were having problems, and right before I got ill, you were having problems like processing thoughts, and it was hard for you to say words. It was like they were throwing so much at you, and you could not focus.
But when was that?
Saturday night.
Kind of what session?
It was right before the last break.
Yes.
Is it right before you came over with me, Amanda?
So that was I did the last vigil with you. The one before that, I was on 4 with Brittany, and I ended up leaving because it was such a negative energy. I couldn't take it. And then before that was the break, and then the one that I...
Here's why I'm asking. At one point in time, because I talked to... God, my brain just went dead. I talked to Ashley, and I was having kind of the same thing of... I had no idea what to say. It was like my brain went... Everything was fine in the beginning. Everything was going fine, and then all of a sudden it was just... There was nothing. It was almost like somebody took my words and went, nope, you can scramble these up and you can't say these out loud and we're not going to let you say this. And
well, it's like you were talking and then you hear something, and then you'd go to try and talk again, and you couldn't think of what
Yeah.
to say.
Everything
that's
was
what
gone.
that was happening to me over there in Death Row.
And the weird thing is, during this whole time, my flashlight stopped working. I mean, even I said, Amanda, can you try to get with the flashlight? The flashlights were doing opposite, but I kept getting keyed on my walkie, and I kept thinking it was time up. But it was when we were asking questions, it was actually something was trying to use the walkie, and it wasn't doing static, just like somebody was clicking it on and off, and that's it. But it was responding to our questions.
The walkies were going nuts.
Well,
I know they were.
Hey,
With
Brittany
what-
and Amanda, go ahead and tell them what happened when you guys were over in Gen Pop with your walkie.
So we were doing our own little live with our group, for a group. And when we were in Gen Pop, we were asked in a creepy voice to go down to 3D. And Brittany said, copy, over. And it said, oh, baby. And
I
so we
got
just assumed it was
blamed
Bill.
for all that,
Yeah.
and I didn't do it.
Well,
But
because it
that
was
is the
just
kind of thing you would
yeah, I
normally
mean,
do, though.
Right.
Now, did you guys hear me tell James to come down there?
Nope. No. No.
Okay, keep
not-
going.
Not at all. And so then later on, as we're walking that way, we get like 10 feet from the stairs, and I whispered, are you sure Bill's down there? Because we both just stopped, and it didn't feel right. So she said, hey, Bill, are you in 3D? And you came back and said no. And it felt like we stared at each other for like 2 minutes.
Wait.
We were like, what the hell?
They keyed you to ask you. You did answer them.
Okay, I don't remember doing that. So.
You did. We have it all caught on
Our live.
video.
And then,
And so then she said, who called us to come down to 3D? And no one answered. And then she did it again, and that's when Tyler was like, Ashley and I are down in 3D. And it was like, okay, well, we'll be down. And he said, you're not coming down here. I'll explain later.
We walked so fast. We're like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
okay. So, but here's
But
the
then-
creepy thing. Keep going.
Yeah. So then as we're walking outside, we run into Andrew and Michelle, and we're talking, and it's we hear Tyler say, hey, Ashley and I are coming up from 3D. And then like 2 seconds later, it's like, Andrew, I need you in 3D now. And he looks frantic and goes inside, and as he's like 2 feet in, Andrew, Tyler, and Ashley come walking out. He never said that.
And the thing
Wow.
is, when he
So-
called Andrew, they had their walkie, Brittany and Amanda, they
Yeah.
had theirs, I had mine. It didn't come across our walkies, just Andrew's.
Really?
And all three of us are sitting together, or standing together.
I was
And
too.
I have it
Yeah,
all
and
on
Kelly
mine.
was there,
So that
actually.
was
Not that part.
that was over by Building 3, right?
Yeah, Kelly was
Okay.
there too, and it didn't come off her walkie
Well,
either.
okay. Think about the. Okay, so Amanda, were you with me when we had the radio?
Yes.
Okay, so this was same building, Building 3.
Have you
Yes.
have you noticed this everywhere Amanda has been?
I noticed this.
Okay.
I know. I'm like, oh gosh, they're gonna think I'm the dark side.
So we're over there. We're doing a session, and we've got people with us. And there's a lady sitting there eating little pieces of chocolate. And she goes, if you'll come see me, I'll give you a piece of chocolate. Would you like a piece of chocolate? And Kelly's voice over the radio goes, yes.
But it wasn't me.
It wasn't. And everybody, all the guests, kind of look around and go, who is that? Well, that's Kelly's voice. And then I
We're
asked,
like, holy crap, that's my wife.
That's what those three ladies were asking me. I walked by and they go, you know that guy, Bill, Bill, the bald-headed guy, the announcement, his wife. I says, well, that's me. And
Yeah,
so maybe
excuse
that's what they were talking
my
about.
blanket.
That's my blanket.
So yeah, but when your voice came across, it was right in the. Do you want?
Split
do you-
second.
Would you like a piece of chocolate? Yes.
Yes.
And
Crap.
it didn't come across anybody else's radio because no one got it except
And
you.
then what happened like 30 seconds later, Bill?
When the box exploded,
Yeah.
more or less, that's what it sounded like it did. The white box just not
It was
plugged
like a
in,
power surge.
sitting off to the side all by itself, just and it wouldn't shut off. I turned the power off and it kept going. It wasn't plugged into
Wow.
nothing.
I'm gonna say
No.
I am not upset about that.
You're not upset that the white box freaked us both out?
Well, no, I'm not upset that it went.
I think Bill went airborne, like 2 feet.
No, no, no.
And
Bill, it's not that you think that Bill went airborne. Bill was jet powered at that stage.
yes. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I
There
gotta
were a
talk.
lot of holy shits coming out.
I have to talk about. So I it was like the right before the last session. Met the group of people outside the building, and I started explaining to them what Building 3 was, and then told them the side we were going on. We're going to go on the west side, in the north area, and the fourth floor was the neo-Nazi area. And I might ask a volunteer to go up. And a guy that I just hand one up, he goes, "I'll go it. I'll do it." We get inside, and I put a flashlight on him, like, "You're black." He goes, "Yep, I'm going up there." And then I go, "Okay, head up there." And he kind of goes, maybe. He goes, "I'm only half black." I go, "Well, does that matter?" He goes, "A little." And you could tell he's getting nervous. And I said, "You don't have to go up there if you don't want to." Well, there's another gentleman there that goes, "Well, I'm half black. Let's go up there together. We make a whole brother." So they take off and go up there together. And they get up there, and the young guy he's antagonizing. He goes, "I'm a black man standing in your cell. What are you going to do about it? I get to leave. You got to stay." And then we heard a bang, and he went, "Sorry, I'll leave now." I was like, I go, "Are you sure you want to leave?" And he goes, "Ow, ow." And he's got 3 big, huge scratches up the back of his neck. The other guy's standing over there going, "I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing."
The crazy thing is that he was in our group in 4, and he was the only one that got anything during that vigil in the segregation house.
The young guy?
Yep.
Yes, he was the same, and he got scratched in the dungeon twice. So it was the same guy, and when he was in 4, he kept having whispered
Well,
in his ear.
when he got scratched, he goes, "Can you come up here?" I'm like, "Damn, steps. Okay, here I go." So I went all the way up the steps, looked at him, I go, "Hey, let's go down." Thinking the other guy's going to come down with us. We get all the way down and hear, "Should I come down too?" It's like, "Oh crap, we left him up there." So I can't explain it. And okay, so you guys know I set up the new video camera and was just going to let it run all night and kind of record. It was recording all night long. Take it back when we were tearing stuff down. I turned it over, turned it on. It didn't record a thing all night
It's
long.
not. How convenient.
No, it was
Well, just like
no,
the SLS was dead as a doornail.
but I mean it was. It's not that it recorded a file. It just didn't record it. It was on and recording. It just recorded nothing and saved nothing. It's all blank.
It's like it didn't want you to record. It was recording, but it didn't want you to record anything that was there.
Or I had it in the wrong spot.
Well, and here's the thing
Could
too.
be.
You know, we're talking about what Friday and Saturday was like, but when we were back, when were we there in April or May, whatever, in July, it was already starting to get that way.
It was
Yeah.
weird.
Okay, and I think it just kind of intensified this weekend. But the Missouri State Penitentiary workers were telling us that this has been going on for months, and they've been wanting us to help them because now we have some of the group, their group, that go anywhere and have always felt comfortable, walk in, they don't care. There are spots they're not even going to no more. They're not even trying to put it in the tours because they can't. And they've been telling me what's been going on. So there has been a shift there at the prison. I think, you know, when we go back in November, it's going to be the same way. You know, so there's going to be things going on until, you know, something was let in there. Something has shifted in there, and it's now become its own thing. And I think it's taking over. Because the craziest thing happened when I was in the dungeon, and I'm trying to ground myself and trying to get myself back because I couldn't do nothing anymore. The only thing I could see in the dungeon is Building 3, this black mass coming out of Building 3, crossing over the courtyard and coming and jumps through the window to come to the dungeon. And I still had 15 minutes left, and I was sitting there crapping going, and then all of a sudden that back wall, I see this thing opening up, and it's like all these things were coming out It reminded me of a zombie movie, you know, like when they bust down one of the fences and they just swarm. That happened, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to be able to help these people. I was trying to keep it at bay, and we had people in the hallway, and they're like, we're getting shoved against the wall. We're feeling something crossing us right now. And I'm thinking, seeing it going, these people are getting engulfed. So, but to be there doing a session and seeing what's coming out of 3, jumping over to 4, and that is the same exact time when you guys were getting your stuff and Tyler felt like somebody was lunging at him, and I'm like,
That was crazy too, because we set up like a seance, and we were getting little things here and there, but I started having people volunteer, and they didn't know what they were volunteering for, which was fantastic. So when they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll volunteer," I'm like, "Good." I'm like, "Go find a cell. You're gonna go stand in that cell while we do the seance stuff." And so this one lady went up to the 3rd floor in this cell. Everything was okay, you know, and Tyler was talking, and then he just kept asking, "What's your name? You need to tell me what your name is." And then I stopped, and I was like, "Tyler, you need to stop." I'm like, "You need to get that woman out." I saw this like black mass cover the entire cell, and it was going to hurt her. And I'm like, "Stop, Tyler, stop." And I'm like becoming frantic. And Tyler asked one more time, "What is your name?" And it came across the phasma, the devil. And then he's like, "Okay, everybody out." And he had Google turn, you know, the lights on. And I was like, "I was trying to tell you." And then all of a sudden, like, everyone comes down and we turn the lights back out and start again. I heard a growl right behind us. And I'm like, "Tyler, something just growled at you." Not even a second later, he's up, running, like jumped. He jumped so hard that his chair flew backwards. And he's saying like the F word every 2 seconds, just dying. It was, and he left us after that. He left Drew and I to hang by ourselves after that. He's like, "Peace out. You guys are hanging with the devil tonight."
Good luck, guys.
Well, I know that.
It was messed up.
I know that.
Good training.
When we first got when we first got there on Thursday night, and we were going through things, and we kind of dropped off the stuff, it gave us a chance to do something that we've never been able to do, and just to go into a couple areas and just do something on our own. And we've never actually had a chance to do that. But we did that flashlight session, and you watch the session, and the lights are going, and everything's going fine. But as Drew and I, after we got back, from back to the hotel and stuff, Drew and I started watching the video, and the video on it gets really weird, and it starts getting darker and darker and darker, and the light, all the infrared lights were working just fine, and then it goes completely dark, and the only thing you can see is a flashlight. Well, then all of a sudden, while it's going and the flashlight's going, it looked like it started getting cloudier and cloudier, and it was like someone was trying to put a flashlight through the fog.
Well, let me tell you something really interesting. We got that on there. There is a video that's
The other guy got it.
Brittany got it on her live time. It did the exact same thing. When
Really?
she was just looking and thinking she's following an orb, it did the same thing. She posted it on her thing. So 3 different people in different times got that same type.
That's wild.
I
Something
posted
actually.
it to Ghost Hunts group too, so if
Yeah,
anyone
you can
wants to
see
go
it walk it. You can see it's actually with hers going live. It actually, you can see it get darker and darker. But then I looked at it more today. It was actually a huge shadow figure.
It's a full figure,
Yep.
and but it's at the same time up on like the 3rd or 4th level, a white orb, like bright light comes flying out. But at the same time, the shadow figure steps just enough in the light to see it, and then it like zooms out
Wow,
so
I want-
fast.
I'm
And I
gonna
was
have to
like,
watch that.
"Whoa!"
Yeah, so with
I
us
didn't
having
catch
it,
that the first time.
yeah, you got it. She did it at a different time and got something like it. So I mean, it kind of validates what can be going on.
Yeah.
Well, in Death Row, where they had that real dark figure is usually clear down at the other end down there. For some reason, it wasn't there on Saturday night. There was something else there because James was with me. He's one of the MSP tour guides, and he kept looking down there. I says, "What are you looking at?" He says, there is a figure down there, and it keeps putting his head through, and it's waving at me." So it kept waving and waving at him, but he went down there and he was looking around, and it's like it went down there, went on the other side of where all the other death row cells are, then it come back around. It's like it was doing a half circle. Because I kept hearing something down on my end, like somebody walking or something. So it might have been that, and then going around. I mean, it was playing with it. And then the crawlers, they weren't all over the place. They were sit down right beside me, and it was weird. And they were up on the walls, and they were just sitting there. It's like they were looking at us, like something had calmed them down. So, I mean, I don't know.
What you like, Mama, for the... Come here, guys. Just come sit by Mama.
Sit with Mama. It's okay.
It's all good.
Come on, baby.
But I ain't going to share my blanket.
No.
Really? Here, have
But
some
it was
cookies.
just, I mean, even Mrs., she said it, and James did too. He's just like, they're not moving. They're just, it's like something is telling them, stay put. Don't be moving all over, which is kind of weird for those things. Not to be running all over the place and scaring people.
Okay, Brittany, go ahead. It looks like you're about ready to pee yourself.
Oh my God. Oh, so excited. Okay, so I channeled that thing, by the way. That thing that stirred everything up. We had a lady we had the Phasma box, and we put headphones on her so she could do like a live answer for us. And I remember after we did that, Drew, do you remember this whole thing? I wish we would have recorded it. I mean, I hope you remember you were there.
I do. That would have been awesome to get that in a recording.
I was listening to the way she was talking.
Well, one of you two needs to explain what happened, because you just keep talking about, did you see it? I remember seeing it. We should have recorded it. What the hell did you see?
So Drew and I are just sitting there, and we're just having our session with this last group before free room. And I watched someone walk up. I thought it was somebody coming out from the dungeon. I'm like, oh, Mom had to help someone else out. It must be really crazy down there. That's what it looked like, a full figure. So I was like, hey, like, we're doing our thing. Just let us know that you're here so you don't scare anybody. It didn't respond to me. So I was like, did anybody see that? And so like I stood up and shined my light over there, and there was nothing there. And then I shut it off. And then that lady started speaking to me, but it resonated with me. I knew what she was saying somehow. And then all of a sudden I saw this thing. I can't even explain what he looked like. And it wasn't even a he, it was a thing. And then I just knew, and I'm like, were you the one? I said, why did you try to lure me down in the psych ward? And the lady instantly goes, because. And I was like, okay, so now I'm in direct communication with this thing. I said, no, you need to answer me. Why were you trying to lure Amanda and I down there? And the lady goes, I already told you. And I said, no, you were going to answer me now. Why? And he goes, because. I was getting pissed, okay? Like, it was trying to take us over earlier that day, because Ashley had told us, like, if anyone would have come down, it was trying to find a vessel. I don't take that well.
But I'm going to lay on the floor and spread my legs in the psych ward.
Okay,
Too easy.
I'm sure it wasn't the first time.
That's different.
Well, wait, Amanda, what was that?
For you, I meant like we were friends. Okay, I meant down there. No, so I was having like a full-on conversation with this thing. I can't remember everything. I don't know, Drew, if you remember, but this woman was answering me like
very
instantly.
quickly. I mean,
from
the
what this thing
answers
was
were
saying.
just right on, and the rest of the guests were looking at you like, why are you arguing with the Phasma box?
Okay, so the woman's voice was coming over the Phasma box.
No. The woman, she actually had the Phasma box on with the headphones and was
No,
away.
that's right. Okay,
yeah.
so the lady was, you were doing a
session.
closed
Like
session, a live listen through the Phasma box.
Yeah, but I was facing away from her, so she couldn't hear me. And I was like walking where she was sitting. I was walking away from her on the opposite side of the circle, inside the circle. And then I started pacing because I was getting mad, and I started getting really worked up because I watched this thing when the last group came up from the dungeon. It was jumping from people's backs to get out. And I was like, you are not welcome to leave here. You do not have permission. You need to stay here. And this lady was responding back with like, you can't make me, and like things like that. And I remember watching our guest in our circle just look at me like, what the hell is happening?
Wow.
And then I remember you and James walked up behind me, and you were, I don't know. What did you think of that?
Well, at first
Oh,
I didn't
you.
know. At first I didn't know the lady was wearing headphones, and I'm like, what the hell is this batshit crazy lady doing? You know? But then enough light gleamed in that I could see she had the headphones on, because even building 4, I know it gets dark, but the darkness was even more than our
Okay.
normal.
Okay.
So, and James he was so worked up from the dungeon, and he was pacing because he was so angry. He wanted to tear everybody's heads off. He goes, I gotta go. And I'm trying to take care of him, but I knew at that time, after what I was seeing there, and then what I seen that was by Brittany, and seeing the bouncing stuff, I go, I can't leave her. So I was like stuck in the middle going, oh, which way to go, which way to go. Luckily, people started walking in, and I'm like, break it. And so it broke. But
Well, I turned around too and saw James, and I don't know why I said this, and I had no idea what was going on with him, but I'm like, I need to go cleanse you right now. And
Yeah.
he was like, yeah,
Well,
like always.
I hate
And
to
then
s-
he got pissed and like stormed out, and I'm like, okay. But
I-
then he
we-
stopped.
Yeah.
There was some people
Yeah.
that were talking about
He-
James later on, because everybody's been asking James, have you actually been not just cleansed, but blessed, and everything that's been happening to James? He's he's terrified to go down to D3.
he won't,
he
there's
won't go
other
down there.
places either.
Yeah, he does not like to go. He won't go upstairs in general population anymore. He hates
No.
something. Somebody said, and I kind of believe it, that he may need to get with somebody to get not just cleansed, but for lack of better
He needs some
words,
spiritual
he needs
healing.
spiritual healing, or an exorcism done on him to get rid of what's ever messing with him so damn bad.
And he's having
Yeah, James, I hope
nightmares.
you're hearing this.
He's actually been he's going to send an email because he's been having some nightmares. But he started having nightmares knowing that he was having to go to work that night, and it was almost a warning. I said you should have called in sick, and that's not a joke, because I seen the way he was, and he goes, but I want to face it, and he knew that we were going to be there, and he goes, Michelle, I wanted to face it with you, but here's the thing: when I get around James, I can't get through. In other words, something's over him, and I can't figure it out. But I can't tell James that, because if I told James what I see around him, the guy will have a fucking coronary and die.
Well, he's gonna hear it now once this posts. Way to go.
But okay, would it be something like that? Maybe sometime, and because the only person I really know that would be some time with Ashley, spending some time and letting her try to help him out.
Well, she was going to, but that kind of failed at that night. But
Okay.
I have pretty much reached out to Ashley, and she wants me to help her do it. But we're thinking about making sure that she might be able to go to Missouri in November to make
Okay.
sure he's there, so we can do that. But again, we don't want to talk about all the bad.
No.
Because we have another hunt coming up in November at the Missouri State Pen, and I believe everybody should at least go once.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, you're going to experience things, but sometimes I wish some people wouldn't experience anything. Bye, Amanda.
Bye, Amanda. Thank you. We'll have you back on here, I promise.
That's fine. Love to. Bye.
Bye bye.
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 But anyways, just the whole thing, I want sometimes people not to experience things, to know what it's like. I don't want people thinking every time they go somewhere they're going to experience something.
Yeah.
And, I was hoping, because 4 was so dead when no pun intended, that they would experience not catching something in 4 like they normally do. But then everything just goes crazy, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, that didn't work this time. But,
Yeah.
but if anybody, whoever's listening, in November, go to ghosthunts.usa.com, go to the Missouri State Penitentiary, find out the dates, and come and meet us over there. If you're really wanting to experience something, you definitely need to come.
Do we have to bring her?
Well, I know one thing. When I was in death row, James was with me, and he seemed calm and everything. The only thing is, like I said, just that thing waving at him. But other than that, he seemed fine. So I don't know if it's just certain areas that bother him. I don't know if death row does. He never did say, but whenever I had to take someone out of there, he would go outside and stay with them and stuff, but he seemed fine when he was around me.
See, because it seemed like it was weird because part of the times James was walking around and having all these issues, and now I'm going to throw it back on somebody else. A lot of times he was having the hard times. He was with Michelle.
Really?
Yeah.
It was like a witch.
You know, people are not going to want to be around me the way you guys are.
Hey, I didn't say nothing about you.
So here's the thing. If I can, I will.
It's not that it's you, Michelle. It's just that your abilities that I can't comprehend and that I can't do. You have the ability to allow things to come out in people that are there, and maybe that's just what James needs. Is he needs, again, to have that push to try to help him get rid of it, and the fact that you can do what you do, and he gets that way. Maybe it's you're drawing it out, or it's scared of you, and it doesn't want to go away. Maybe it doesn't want to jump around.
Jump. Okay, that just
Jump
wasn't real.
around. You guys forgot that part. You just said jump like 25 times.
Well, that was your part.
Jump
Oh,
down.
Oh, and then, when I find out Tyler is going to be in 4, I'm just like, oh, great. He's going to play all this music. And you can hear it so much in the dungeon, which is not fair to those people, because he does blare it. And then I'm like, God, it's been kind of quiet. So I'm thinking, okay, he's doing something else.
Amazing
Comes.
grace.
And it is bellowing.
How
People are hearing it.
The sound.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, are you sitting? It took me a minute. I'm like, oh, so he's not playing the music, but he's going to throw at me. Well, you didn't say I couldn't have your daughter sing, I'm like, damn it. But I'm going to tell you why she was singing those songs. Pissed everything off downstairs. They were literally saying, stop it, shut it up. And I'm like,
But
wow.
why? Brittany's got such a beautiful voice.
It was just the mute. No, because even when you guys Andrew came over and he started playing that song that we always
Yep.
play for 4.
Rain in the Valley.
Guess what? In the dungeon, I'm wondering if it does it all the time because I've never been down there when it played. It was cussing and saying, stop it. We don't want to hear this. Cut it off. It's too much. Don't do it. And I'm just like, wow.
Well, that's like Friday night when I was up in the women's. Andrew was up there and he says, we're going to say a prayer. And it says, no, because I had the Phasma box. And he says, why can't we say a prayer? And it just kept saying, no. And it was just really strange. And then I said it on another time, and it goes, no. And then it called me a name.
Yeah, we won't say that.
Yeah, listen to
But,
you.
that happens.
So I'm thinking we probably shouldn't say any more.
No.
Just because we want people to get the experiences.
That's
Yeah.
right. And like I said, we have another one in November. They should, get on to Ghost Hunts USA and pull up the Missouri State Pen, get their tickets, join us there, and go ahead and experience
And
it.
we've got one coming up this weekend.
Yes, we are going to Minnesota, so
The Nopum Sanatorium.
which is
Yeah.
I've got my reservations on this one a little bit.
Me too.
But and I think it's because if you think about it, look at all these ghost hunting shows and everything. You've never really seen anything about it. I mean, there's been a couple people, but it's not been
Only
something.
Ghost Adventures has been to this.
That's right. Nobody else is.
So
It's kind of one of those. It's one of those secrets, I think. And the good thing is, since I don't know much, and I don't watch Ghost Hunters, so I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything to see what's going to happen.
So then I guess we'll go this weekend. We'll get our experiences, and then we'll create another one of these feeds, and then we'll throw it out there and let people see what we'll hear it. For people that couldn't make it, well, maybe we can, get some more people interested in doing what we do and having a good time.
And I'll be there to join you guys.
I know, I just heard.
Yeah, so I'll be there Thursday.
I will try to get your SLS camera up and running.
Because
I don't know what
that'll
happened.
definitely will be good there.
I'm wondering, with everything that was going on, that it wouldn't let you.
See it.
No,
Use it
No,
or
it drained it completely.
Yeah,
It was
'cause
fully
normally-
charged.
Normally, yeah, because he had it fully charged, but normally, it doesn't go down that
Even with
that
a battery
fast.
pack?
Yeah, even with the
You
battery
will. It
pack.
wasn't the SLS camera itself that went down. It was the computer that showed the screen.
And it was
drained
fully
it just
charged.
like that.
Yeah, the screen was drained before we even touched it.
So
Yep.
we'll have to check that out, but then maybe see what it does with a battery pack?
You can't have the battery pack hooked up because you've got to have the camera hooked to it.
Oh,
And it
Okay.
can't. If it could charge off that battery pack that's with the SLS cam, that'd be great because there's plenty of power there.
Okay.
But
We'll get it all fixed. So, Brittany, thanks for joining us.
thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks
you.
for having me, guys.
Bye.
Bye.